Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your Manchester United versus Real Betis Europa League preview, as well as your latest Manchester United news, as I suppose we have to dissect this apology from Wout Weghorst and decide whether we believe it, whether we don't believe it, whether we even think it's significant. Obviously he touched the "This is Anfield" sign. Apparently he's the only Man United player to do it in our history. He's come out with an explanation as to why he's done it. Do you really care about it? You might care about the team I've picked for the Betis game. There are a few changes. I think there has to be changes after the game on Sunday. I don't think you can put the same team out for certain. So we'll get into that. Also, we'll touch on the latest United news, of course. 7 o'clock show tonight instead of 8 o'clock because I'm doing Chelsea versus Dortmund on That's Football watch along. So hopefully we'll be able to elongate the chat watching that together later. But before we fly into everything, let's just say Jordan White says we will see the mindset of these players on Thursday. I'm hoping they're going to bounce back. But before we get into that, we are sponsored by Boohoo Man on the show tonight. I'm wearing my Boohoo Man hoodie. It's gone a bit cold in the UK. There's even talk of snow. But Boohoo Man is all about looking good and feeling great. And as we start the new year, then there's no better time to get yourself some brand new winter or activewear. And because Boohoo Man is sponsoring the show, it means it's time for some United-related trivia. We love to do this with Boohoo Man. So see if you can guess which United player I'm talking about from the clues Boohoo Man are giving you. So here we go. I started playing professional football for Sao Paulo FC in 2010. I made my international debut for Brazil in 2011. I joined Real Madrid in 2013, initially on loan. I've won 5 Champions League trophies, and I recently won the Carabao Cup, or the Carabao Cup, however you want to pronounce it. Who am I? Who am I? Well, it's very easy, isn't it? It's very obvious who it is. I probably wouldn't have got it on the first two, the Sao Paulo FC 2010 and debut in 2011, because it feels like he would have made his debut for Brazil before that. But of course, it's Casemiro. So well done to everyone that got that. As always, Boohoo Man have given United Stand a discount for this video by scanning the QR code next to me or clicking the link in the description. And using the code Goldbridge, you can get an extra 10% off at Boohoo Man, excluding certain sale items. Thank you very much to Boohoo Man for supporting the show. And of course, as always, when we're doing Boohoo Man shows, I'm wearing my Boohoo Man hoodie, which I absolutely love because it's red and black. And we are United. So let's get on with the show. Let me just remove that because I do want to sort of give you a little bit of a glimpse of my team for the game against Betis. I want to talk about Betis in depth, but I do want to talk about my team for the Betis game and just give you a little bit of a glimpse here of how I was looking. So little glimpse there. I'll come back to it in a minute, but as you can see, there are 2 or 3 changes from the team that played against Anfield, and I think you have to do that. I think he's got to make... I'll be stunned if he doesn't make changes because you've got to send a message out. And I think Anthony, Luke Shaw and Fred are the 3 I would take out of that team 100%. And Weghorst, so that's 4. I think them 4 have to come out of the team. I'd stick with Varane, Martinez and Casemiro because we want to win. And I would stick with Rashford and Bruno because I think they're important. And obviously De Gea, and obviously Wan-Bissaka comes in as well. So, yeah, that's what I would do. But we'll get into that in more depth in a minute. I want to talk about this breaking news story before we talk about Betis because I was all geared up to talk about Betis. And Betis are a good side, you know, managed by former Manchester City manager Pellegrini. Really adaptive, intelligent side. I think they're 5th in La Liga at the moment. They're very, 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 very good side. Play attacking football, but can defend as well. They're not I mean, they do have people like Fekir, who's injured, and Carvalho, who you'll probably know from Portugal national side. But they're a team that's a team, and that's going to be a real test for us over 2 legs. But before we get into that, you may have seen the story that developed in relation to the weekend, where Wout Weghorst, on his way out of to the pitch on Sunday afternoon, Liverpool players are tapping, This is Anfield sign as is their custom, and as he goes past, Wout Weghorst touches it, and it's more than a glance; it's a touch. He touches it. This has caused many a Man United fan to get quite distressed and pissed off because apparently that's never happened before. So Weghorst has come out this evening with a quite a long statement saying that, in essence, he was trying to wind up Van Dijk because Van Dijk touches it and then his hand goes up but Van Dijk's already touched it and dropped his hand, and Weghorst's hand stays there touching it for a second or so. I've seen the video of it. I've seen the images of it. I've got to be honest, I'm not massively bothered either way. I don't want to individualise the result on Sunday. We didn't lose 7-0 on Sunday because Wout Weghorst touched "This is Anfield." Let's make that very, very clear. But there's a lot of people saying they don't believe him. There's a lot of people saying they don't not believe him. I saw a quote that in 2020, when he was at Wolfsburg or something like that, he said it was his dream to play at Anfield for Liverpool. I don't know how truthful that quote is, and I don't know how truthful his statement is. It matters not massively to me, if I'm being honest. We lost 7-0 on the football pitch. We didn't lose 7-0 because he touched that. But maybe there's a lesson to be learnt there about what type of player we recruit for Manchester United. Because if there's any doubt that he's a Liverpool fan or, you know, touched it because it's his dream to play at Anfield, if that quote is true from 2020 or 2019 that it's his dream to play for Liverpool, and then he's touching a "This is Anfield" sign, it's a little bit coincidental. But benefit of the doubt, I just think we're probably doing what happened with Bruno yesterday, where people are trying to direct justifiable frustration and blame onto one player. And I don't think that's right. But it wouldn't be the first time United have gone for a player without thinking about what the club stands for. And on a much lesser level, they were looking at an Arnautovic, and that would have been sanctioned by Ten Hag. And look at the outpour there was about that. I mean, it's all a big learning curve, but maybe if it means something to people, then the club need to start looking at the sort of people they bring into the football club, because it's not a good move. Whether there's a good excuse for it, whether you believe that excuse, that's up to you. But it's pissed off a lot of people. Has it pissed me off? No. Would it be the reason I would drop him on Thursday? No, I'd drop him because I just don't think he's very good. But I don't really have a problem with him. I think he's trying his best. I don't think you can say he tried to sabotage it because he's a Liverpool fan. He always tries his best. I just don't think he's particularly good. So I'll leave that with you, really. It's up to you what you decide. I've seen some people who completely don't agree with it. I'm not going to analyse a video of how long he touched "This is Anfield." He shouldn't have done it. I think he's apologised for it anyway. And I think we need to move on because Anthony Martial ain't fit. I don't believe Wout. Feels like he's making an excuse for an honest mistake. Whatever, we must move on. His work rate, passion are visible. Let's move on. I agree with that sacking. And seeing you on TalkSport, well played for clearing that up with Bruno and putting everyone straight, says Warrior. Yeah, thanks, mate. Thanks, mate. I enjoyed it, actually. I mean, Ali McCoist is good, but I disagreed what was said about Bruno. Agent Tagallo, says Tommy. Yeah, he's come out and said that Osman should join Manchester United. Vegs is trying his best, says Ray, Carl, Brown, Amore. And Mark, why isn't Ten Hag trusting Sabitzer, especially because he doesn't trust Bruno at 10? Sabitzer has a good touch and probably keep the ball better than this McFred and can also rotate, says Ankit. Well, look, let's move to the team that I would pick against Betis. And we can get some questions in a little bit. But you raise a really good point. You think about the game at Anfield on Sunday, and one thing that absolutely stood out to me, and I just never really got a chance to say it because the game was so intense. We thought we were going to win. Then, it's an intense game. Then you're losing by 7 goals, and you just don't really have a chance to talk about maybe some of the things that you wanted to talk about. And one of the things that really stuck in my head is, why did we not play Sabitzer in the Weghorst role? Why would you not, if Bruno needs to play on the left to deal with trends, why not play Weghorst at 10 with Fred and Casemiro? I don't get the obsession with Weghorst. And look, I'm a massive fan of Erik Ten Hag, but we've got to hold our hands up as fans of Ten Hag and say, and I saw Ricky saying it on Instagram, and he's actually right, we didn't show Liverpool any respect. Like, I knew that Anfield is our most difficult game of the season. It always is. I knew it didn't matter what form Liverpool were in. They were going to run and run and run for 90 minutes. And I knew they weren't going to sit back and be scared of Manchester United. And we seem to come up with this idea that works 50% of the time, which is Weghorst at number 10 when he's ridiculously slow and he's got no composure on the ball. So I don't know why we did that. And it was a massive mistake. And it allowed two underperformers in Fabinho and Henderson this season to actually have an easy game. I saw Michael Owen and Ian Wright slagging off Bruno Fernandes earlier. And they're basically calling him lazy. Michael Owen's analysis is terrible, by the way. Absolutely terrible. And he can, you know what? He's probably the sort of guy who will go, look at my Premier League winners' medals, look at my Ballon d'Ors, because he's the sort of guy when he played football that used to blast balls at 10-year-old goalkeepers. You know, he believes in himself, which is great. But the analysis of Bruno was ridiculous. It was poor. I think my 13-year-old daughter would analyse that game a lot better. The amount of times they said Bruno was lazy and he's not tracking Trent back. Hold on a minute. If you're going to go on national TV and talk about football, please do some research. Anthony didn't track Robertson back. Bruno didn't track Trent back. They weren't supposed to. It was tactical. I completely disagree with it, but I thought Anthony was terrible and Bruno was terrible. But I said this at half-time on Sunday, and it's important for the game on Thursday. Anthony was on the side of the pitch of the dugout where Ten Hag was. He was within 5 metres of him for most of the half. Anthony never tracked back. Do you think Ten Hag might have said to him, track back or you're getting subbed? Ten Hag didn't want Bruno and Anthony to track back. He wanted them to stay high. I don't know why. Maybe it was to, occupy their centre-backs if we got a break. Maybe it was to, try and stop them going forward. It was ridiculously naive at Anfield and we lost the game because of it. So this lazy thing about them not tracking back, I don't actually think they were told to track back because neither of them did it. And on top of that, of course, as we know, Bruno Fernandes has played a lot of football. We should have put faith in Elanga and Palestri. I don't think we should have done Kehl. I think that would have been even worse. There are things Erik Ten Hag will get wrong. Weghorst should just come out from the bench and Sabitzer should start at 10. Bruno needs a rest, says Sakin. Well, look, this is the team I would pick. Betis, as a bit of a background, their best player is arguably their most identifiable player, Nabil Fekir. Plays as sort of the conductor, the number 10, the creative midfielder. He's out. He's injured. He won't play in either leg. I think he's out for the season. So Fekir is out for them, which is a big blow for them. Pellegrini is their manager. They are 5th in La Liga. They are a really adaptive side, but I'd say they're an attacking side. Having said that, I've seen them play some games this season where they will, like Barcelona, where they will sit deep and counter. So he's quite a pragmatic coach, Pellegrini. They like to attack in numbers. They like to attack down the width. They will instigate a high press. They will drop off and play deep. They're a very adaptable side. And Pellegrini is not what I would describe as stubborn on the way that he wants to play. So they could come to Old Trafford and play counter-attacking football. And then in the home leg, they could press us high up the pitch and try and suffocate us. They're a team. Everybody's a team, of course, but they are a team. You look at that team, they've got the lad who used to play for Leicester, Perez. I think Bellerin might still play for them, actually. But they've got Carvalho from Portugal, a few other players. We actually played them just after when the World Cup was on. We had played. You remember them 2 games we played in Spain? But they're probably the perfect team to play on Thursday because they're a decent footballing side. They will play possession. They will give us a test, and they're not riddled with star players. They're definitely Real Betis, the team. So they're well organised. So I think it's a good game for United because if we win, we're beating a decent side. And if we don't turn up, we'll get turned over. So I think it's the perfect sort of game for Manchester United in many ways. And therefore, everybody who's saying in the chat, drop Bruno, drop Rashford, drop Varane, drop Martinez, will get beat. Look at what happened. There's a big warning here, basically. From Herrera spitting on the City badge to having fanboy players on loan fondly rubbing your biggest rival's badge. Disgrace couldn't be us. Come on, you Gunners, says Rudy. Fekir is out with an injury, with an ACL injury, says Sakin, yeah. And what do you think of Chris Sutton saying Bruno should never captain United again? I've been saying for many years now, Chris Sutton shouldn't be on the TV ever again. I mean, he's right up there with the ESPN crew. I mean, most of them are terrible. They're absolutely terrible. But look, I'm not going to spend any time telling you how bad ex-players are at being pundits. I don't care what they say about me. I don't care what they say about you because they probably think they're better than all of us anyway. But we're just fans. We don't pretend to be geniuses. The problem is they pretend to be geniuses without actually watching the game. all they've got is I played the game. It's just bias, arrogance, and we see it time and time again. But we've got to go with a team that respects Betis and responds to what happens to Liverpool. The big warning for me is if you look at the game on last Wednesday against West Ham, we were dog muck in the first half. And we made a lot of changes with people like Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire, Victor Lindelof. We were terrible against West Ham. I'll tell you now, if that team that we picked against West Ham in the first half had gone to Anfield, we'd have lost 14-0. So that cannot be what happens on Thursday. You can't pick Maguire and Lindelof and McTominay because you're pissed off with the team from Sunday. That's just biting your nose off to spite your face, really. I think we've got to get back to giving those players who messed up the chance, because ultimately that's how we're going to move forward as a club. But I would make some changes. So De Gea's got to go in goal because we're trying to win this tournament. Wan-Bissaka comes in at right back because I think, he's probably the in-form right back at the moment. And there's that. The reason I'd play Wan-Bissaka is because you've got to make some changes from the team on Sunday. You can't put the same team out because you've got to send a bit of a message. And unfortunately for Delot, he plays in a position where you can replace him, bring Wan-Bissaka in, and it's one of the players out of the team from Sunday straight away. You've got to play Varane and Martinez because I think if you don't, you lose the game. Alanga or Plestri are better than Weghorst as Kiel. I would drop Luke Shaw. I don't know whether he was fully fit. And look, some of these players might not play because they might not be fit. There's concerns about Casemiro, there's concerns about Varane, and there's concerns about Luke Shaw. I'd drop Luke Shaw for the same reason I'd drop Delot. Malacia will come in and do a decent job, and it's an opportunity to drop another player and send a message. As I say, for Luke Shaw and Delot, it's unfortunate because we've got two fullbacks that can do their job, but I wouldn't do it with our centre-backs. So I'd put Malacia in at left-back. I'd put Wan-Bissaka at right back. I'd play Martinez, Varane and De Gea. Casemiro has to play if he's fit because I want to win the game. We can't be so arrogant to think that we can start changing our key players. So Casemiro's got to play. I'll play Sabitzer in the midfield with him. We've been wanting to see Casemiro and Sabitzer start. This is the opportunity to do it. Fred let himself down at the weekend. McTominay let himself down even more. So you've got to make a change in there, and Sabitzer deserves to start. We've brought him in from Bayern Munich. It's now his time to shine. And I think, I wouldn't say it's a positive, but I think that Liverpool result surely has to mean Sabitzer starts. He's got to be given a chance. He was nothing to do with that defeat. He's got to be given a chance. I think Bruno's got to play because he's the captain and he's done really, really well for us and we need to win. But play him in his best position, please. He's not a left winger. He's not a right winger. He's done a job for the team, and I would play him at number 10. Now, it's interesting because I heard what Patrice Evra said. He said, I love Bruno as a player, but this is not the first game his body language has been like that. He needs to get rid of it. I disagree. I'm sorry. I've played the game. I disagree. And Patrice Evra has won Champions Leagues. He's a fantastic player, but I disagree. I don't know why people can't figure this one out. I think it's basic common sense. You want Bruno Fernandes to get rid of the petulance. That's like taking somebody's heart out and asking them to love again. Like, he is petulant. He's been petulant the whole time he's been here. People are acting like Sunday was the first time. I remember saying at the end of last season he was getting on my tits with being petulant. It isn't. I'm not disagreeing with Evra that's annoying, and I'm not disagreeing with everybody else that it's annoying. But we also have to accept it's who he is. It's what he is. It's like asking Roy Keane not to get angry. It's who he is. And we either accept him for what he is or we sell him. And I accept him for what he is because I think he brings so much to the team. I don't want him to lose his petulance because I think he'll lose him. I remember Wayne Rooney was a hothead. We gave him the captaincy and the fire went out. You look at Rooney's career when he got the captaincy. Did he ever really tackle badly again? Did he ever run around like a lunatic trying to get the ball back? He changed. Rooney changed with the captaincy. The fire went out. I don't want that petulance to go out with Bruno because I think it's who he is. It's his character. Never change people when what their trait is makes them what they are. Especially in relation to football. I disagree with that. I think it's so simplistic as well. I don't like the way he reacts on the pitch, so I want him to stop. Well, tough shit. That's who he is. Whether you like it or not, it's who he is. We're all happy with it when it's going well. When it goes bad, we want him to stop. I think it will change him as a player. Mark, don't you think Anthony is a kind of a player coming off the bench having more impact considering his first season and adaptation problems, says Ankit. Bruno's petulance is what it is. It's his passion, his drive, and now he cares for United, says the Inquisition. And Rizik, welcome to the Members Club. Yeah, look, let's move on to the rest of this team. So I've got Jadon Sancho on the right, Garnacho on the left, and Rashford up front. And the reason I've gone with that is, why not do a poll on the captaincy? I'll do that in a minute, international. The reason I've gone with that front three is, I think Weghorst has to come out of the team. We're just so slow in the attack with him. Anthony's got to come out of the team as well. Well, Sancho, I mean, we're paying Sancho 300 grand a week, apparently. Oh, is he a bit part bench player, or is he going to be part of the plan? Because you can't pay 300 grand a week and 75 million pounds for a player that can't come into the team when the wingers have been shit at the weekend. Like, if Sancho can't start in a game like this, I'm questioning why he's here. So Sancho's got to start. Garnacho has probably been our most consistent winger this year, so he's got to start. It's a no-brainer. And put Rashford through the middle, because you need Rashford to start. So if you put Rashford on the left, we've got to start Weghorst up front, and I don't want to do that. So I would put Rashford up front. I would put Sancho on the right, and I'd put Garnacho on the left. And you talk about that Liverpool game, and that's exactly how I would line up, but that front three is really important. Anthony must be dropped. Weghorst must be dropped. Not because we're throwing them on the scrap heap and not because we're individualising it. I just think that, again, it's like Delo and Shaw. I would drop them. I like them. They're my first choice fullbacks. But they're an easy player to take out, kick up the arse. Wan-Bissaka and Malacia get the chance. If I'm Malacia and I'm Wan-Bissaka and I'm Garnacho and I'm Sancho, I'm sat there on Sunday night thinking, if I don't start on Thursday, I don't know if I've got a future here, because those players in my position were so bad. And I want involved in that. So he's got to give me a chance. Otherwise, what am I here for? So I think those four are no-brainers. Garnacho is talented. Sancho needs an opportunity. And more importantly, Anthony needs to be dropped. I like him. I think he's a really good player. But his attitude was wrong, like most of the team on Sunday. But he's a new signing. And I don't know whether people will agree with me on this or not, but I think when you're a new signing, you're on trial. You are. Bruno Fernandes, whatever you think, wasn't very good on Sunday, but he's got money in the bank. You know, he has, when he first, and you know what? Bruno Fernandes, when he came to this club, he got us top four. So, you know, he's got money in the bank. Rashford's got money in the bank. You know, he's scored a lot of goals. He's been here for a few years. Casemiro's our best player. He's got money in the bank. Varane and Martinez, they've been brilliant. They've got money in the bank. Anthony hasn't got money in the bank. In fact, we put a lot of money in Ajax's bank to buy him. I don't think he justifies starting this game. I think he needs to be on the bench, and I think he needs that kick up the arse, because he needs something at the moment. I haven't forgotten the goal he scored against Barcelona. He's a good player, but I just don't see how you wouldn't start Sancho and Garnacho in this game. Mark, do you think psychologically could be playing a factor, knowing if Qatar buyers, most of them players are gone, says Warrior? I don't think so. I mean, I spoke to this to Ben Foster about this. So that's how I would line up. I'm going to move it off the screen at the moment. Let me know in the chat if you would agree with that or not. But I think there's a good balance to that team as well. And you know what? When I set it up before I went live, I actually think that team is better than the team that we started against Liverpool. The only one I would really like to change is probably Luke Shaw at left back, but I feel that, you know, you probably take him out for Malacia. That team's got more balance and a stronger midfield than the team that we started against Liverpool, in my opinion. Can you confirm or deny that you're on the job recruiting Ferguson for United via DM, says Joshua Bahwater? I don't know where all this is coming from. It's coming from Thogden, isn't it? Who's just jealous. But look, I'm not going to confirm or deny anything. The reality is Brighton are a fantastic team, and there is no interest from Manchester United to sign Ferguson at the moment. So would I like us to buy him? Yes. Do I think he's going to be a superstar of the future? Yes. Am I excited about it? I'm really excited about it. He won't play for England because he's Irish, but I lived in Ireland for 3 years. I love Ireland. I can't wait to do the Dublin shows in a couple of weeks, and I think he's a really special player, and I'd love to see an Irish player with talent back at Manchester United. And I don't mean he's from Manchester United. I mean, like, the Roy Keanes, the Dennis Irwins. We need these sort of players, and I'd love it. But yeah, if I was in contact with him, I would say I'd love you to come to Manchester United. But I think anyone would say that. Any chance Ten Hag plays a false nine? Rashford left wing, Sancho right wing, Bruno false nine, Sabitzer, Fred and Casemiro in the midfield as Bradley. Well, I don't know, but I think we need to get on possession. I think one of the big things as well is that we need to get possession of the ball better, don't we? We're not great on possession at the moment. And one of the things I've noticed massively is our pass accuracy has dropped terribly over the last few games. So let me just sort this out. Should Bruno be captain? And I think if you put Sabitzer in the midfield next to Casemiro, it gives you that security. To be honest with you, just Keevan says, yeah, we're not controlling games enough, and you could put Sancho at false nine. The only thing I'd say is unknown is that I really want to emphasise this. Betis are a good side. We should beat them over both legs. I think we'll beat them 2-0 on Thursday, and then we'll be basically through. But this is a really interesting set of games. Really interesting because they're a decent side, and the away leg is in Spain because we had to come through a qualifier against Barcelona. We're only into the last 16, not even the quarterfinals yet. So I think we'll beat them at Old Trafford. I think we have to beat them at Old Trafford. And that's why you can't start saying, let's play Maguire, let's play McTominay. Are we giving up on the Europa League or are we trying to win it? I think we've got to try and win it. We're out the title race now. We should get top four anyway. We've got to try and win this. So we've got to go strong. And we've got to give ourselves a platform for the second leg. If we draw at Old Trafford, I think we're in trouble in the second leg. I think we've had a reality bite against Liverpool. And the reality is we're not as good as we think we are. We're capable of winning games, but we're not. When was the last time we absolutely stuffed somebody? And I know we beat Leicester in the second half, and was it 3-0? But we don't do it very often. So I think whatever result we get, we're probably going to have to go to Betis, and the game will be on. So it's very important that we get the result right, and therefore it's very important that we get on the ball, because one thing is sure, La Liga sides tend to be very good on possession and very good at keeping possession. So what the last thing Ten Hag wants in the first half at Old Trafford is a Spanish side getting on the ball and keeping the ball from us, because that will just frustrate the crowd, and then that can play into the psychological psyche of the players. So we need people who can get on the ball. And with all due respect, Anthony very rarely keeps hold of the ball at the moment. Weghorst can't keep hold of the ball. So straight away, that's two players who don't keep hold of the ball. So I think people like Garnacho, Bruno, Sancho, Sabitzer, these are players that are comfortably keeping hold of the ball, and I would like to do that. If Anthony Martial was anywhere near fit, by the way, I'd start him and I'd probably put Rashford on the bench. I know that sounds odd. Well, probably wouldn't. I'd probably put him on the left, but I don't think Martial's anywhere near being ready. We'll hear from Eric Ten Hag on his press conference tomorrow. Bruno is not good enough in possession. Why Ten Hag plays him out wide, says HKN. But it's very hard to be good in possession when you've got people like Anthony and Weghorst and Rashford around you, who Rashford will always try and get a shot. Weghorst isn't a link-up player, and Anthony struggles to keep hold of the ball. So possession is not about one player. If I've got the ball and I trust myself off both feet, I can't keep the ball because I'll get tackled. I've got to give it to somebody else who gives it me back. Possession is about the team. We couldn't keep the ball in the front positions on Sunday because Anthony couldn't keep hold of it. Weghorst couldn't keep hold of it, and Rashford was just out of the game. And Fred was terrible as well. Bruno is not good. I've done that one from HKN. Sabitzer has good passing range and cheeky flick passes around the box. Would love him to be a regular beside Casemiro. I think this is the game we've got to try it. In fact, I'd go as far as to say that if Sabitzer doesn't start on Thursday, I'd really worry about whether Ten Hag thinks he's up to it, because I can't see how you'd start Casemiro and Fred again and not give Sabitzer a go. Also, we had a super chat that was from Aaron. Bance says it's a weird one with Bruno because he looks like he has so much spirit to win more than anyone else, but that Liverpool game made me rethink that, says Bance. I disagree. I disagree. I think people are reaching for somebody to blame, and I don't think that. I think Bruno probably showed his petulance because he was pissed off and the game was gone. But that's a collective. The whole team's got this problem. As I said, psychologically, when the game's gone, we all down tools. It's not just one individual, it's everybody. Should Bruno be captain? 72% if you say yes, which is good. I didn't know which way that was going to go. So good to hear that. There was something else I wanted to say. I've completely forgotten what it was. Yeah, I'm not massively bothered about the Weghorst thing, to be honest with you. Whether you think he did it on purpose or not. People are saying he's directly looking at the sign when he touches it. Look, I don't know whether it's true or not, but apparently there's a quote from a couple of years ago where he said it's his dream to play for Liverpool. Man United, if that's true, Man United should be doing their... but our recruitment's terrible. Like, our recruitment's rubbish. Like, it is. The Arnautovic thing was a lot worse, and they thought we could sign Arnautovic, and they thought the fans would be okay with it, and they didn't. They had to pull out of that deal because the fans were like, no way should you sign Arnautovic. So we have got people in that football club who don't understand what Manchester United's all about because they're bankers or they're not very good at their job. I'm not saying that we shouldn't sign Weghorst on a loan on a full deal, but I think you should be doing due diligence on players if they're Liverpool fans. But in fairness, I just don't think it's that big a deal. I really don't. And also, Ten Hag shouldn't be saying to the players at Anfield, don't touch the sign. He shouldn't have to. And he wouldn't know that someone was going to do it anyway. So I think, as I say, we would have lost 7-0 anyway. It's not the reason we lost. In regards to the captaincy, shouldn't the conversation instead be who of our current squad is equal or more competent than Bruno to be captain, says Taco. Look, on the captaincy, Bruno should keep it. But the club captain is actually Harry Maguire. If Harry Maguire starts, Bruno's not the captain anyway. That's point one, which I find ridiculous, but it's true. Point two, the captain should probably be Varane or Casemiro, but we've probably been saying that for quite a while, and it's not happened. So, I probably would give the captaincy to Casemiro or Varane because I think they've got the most experience, the big game experience, like World Cups, Champions Leagues. But I don't know why they've not. Maybe they don't want it. Maybe Ten Hag doesn't want them to have it. So it's Ten Hag who decides the captain. And our new offices are owned by Guitar, says Tumbleweed. Yeah, you know what? I've got to be honest. I've actually quite enjoyed a day not talking about the ownership because it's boring. Like there's nothing to talk about, and I think people are getting obsessed by it. And it's like I like talking about the ownership when there's actually some breaking news coming out. I don't like talking about it just because people want it to happen. It's boring. I find it boring. I've said that enough, haven't I? But there's nothing for me to add. There's nothing for me to get my teeth into. There will be, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. But it's like that. It's like the De Jong saga, isn't it? Last summer, some days there were updates, and then every other day there really wasn't. So the Guitar or Sir Jim thing is very up in the air, I know, but there's nothing new coming out about it at the moment. I could make something up like Qatar still want to buy Man United, but I think we already know that. 70% of you would keep Bruno as captain, which is nice to hear. The sale has not been confirmed, Calvin. And a false 9 striker should be able to hold the ball. We need Bruno as the creative number 10. That was from Krish. And did we already cover the involvement of Ayers Group, says Aswin? I'm not aware of that story. And DQ says locking top 4 is a priority. It's the number 1 priority. I don't think we're as safe table-wise as we may think. Well, I can get it up for you. That's what she said. No, I can get it up for you. I don't think top 10 really is as a concern as you might think. Top 4. We've got 49 points and we've played a game less than Tottenham. So even if we lose our game in hand, we'd be 4 points ahead of Tottenham. Played the same games as Liverpool and we're 7 points ahead. Newcastle have got a game in hand, but they're done. Brighton have got a lot of games. I can't see that level of a collapse. Ten Hag is still a fantastic coach. We might have been stuffed by Liverpool. In fact, we were. But I don't think we're going to go on a run where we lose 5 or 6 games in a row. And I think what people don't remember about this Premier League season is, even if United lost their next 4 games, Spurs or Liverpool would have to win their next 4, and even then we wouldn't be far off them, and we might sort ourselves out, and then they'd have to keep winning. It's very difficult in this Premier League to win 3 or 4 games in a row and then do it again. Points on the board is so important, and we've got the points on the board. So, I mean, look, I was on about this the other. I was on about this to somebody today. Our Premier League fixtures, because I've looked at them, because there are so many cup games. Southampton at home on Sunday afternoon. Come on, that's got to be 3 points nailed on. Then we don't play a Premier League game till after the international break, which is Newcastle away, which, to be fair, is potentially a difficult one. And then we've got Brentford at home, and then we've got Everton at home, and then we've got Forest away. And I, with all due respect, I'd expect us to take at least 6 points from that. So, already we've took 9 from 15. That's not going to knock us out of the top 4. And we might win more than that. Chelsea at home, I'd be confident. Tottenham away, I'd be confident. Villa at home, I'd be confident. West Ham away, I'd be very confident. Wolves at home, I'd be confident. Bournemouth away, I'd be very confident. And Fulham at home. So I just don't... Famous last words, and I've always said I think top 4 will be difficult, but I look at those fixtures and I just don't see where it swings enough for somebody. I'm not saying we'll finish 3rd, but I can't see 2 teams knocking us out of 3rd and 4th. So I think we'll be absolutely fine. It is the priority, though. Glenny Boy says, I worry about if this team has the mentality to hold off any challenge for 3rd, as it's a different mindset to chasing those above. Well, that's something very different, Glenny Boy. That's 3rd place, isn't it? So, to be fair to Matt Busby, as a former Man City and Liverpool player, also I feel like changing the captain for the 2nd time in a season is a bad idea. Raxi, I completely agree with you. We've got Brighton away as well, Lillers. Yes, we have. We have got Brighton away. But look, Liverpool have got to play Man City at the Etihad. Spurs are Spurs. They can lose any game. Newcastle have got some difficult games as well. So, look, there are some difficult games there, but we've got points on the board. If top 4 is secured, would you rather win the Europa or the FA Cup if you could only win one, as United have? I think I'd rather win the Europa League because it's more prestigious and it's European. But if Man City are going for a treble, I want to win the FA Cup. Simple as. Simple as. Let me just remove that for you. I've just realised I'm meant to be starting on That's Football in 1 minute, which ain't going to happen, but I will be live before the kickoff. Don't forget, we've been sponsored by Boohoo Man. Scan the QR code with your phone, your camera phone. Use the code Goldbridge, get 10% off. Links in the video description. Fantastic clothing at reasonable prices, and you can get an extra 10% off. Big shout out to Boohoo Man. Love the trivia. Thanks everyone who's tuned into the show tonight. I will be continuing the football conversation on That's Football. I'm doing a watch along for Chelsea against Dortmund. Did they take the captaincy away? No, Chris, they haven't. And Kian, thank you very much. If Man United will not take the captaincy off Bruno Fernandes because he's not actually officially the captain, he's the vice captain, and they won't take that off him either. And if they did, I'd lose it, as I think many would, but they won't do that. Shout out to South Africa, says Dezo. Well, shout out to everyone who's watching, wherever you're watching from. If you're going to join me on That's Football, I'm going to push you over there. If you're not, we'll see you on the United Stand tomorrow, but hopefully you will. Chelsea, Dortmund, lots to talk about in general. We against Bellingham to Man United. He's big into Liverpool, says Alpha. Yeah, he's not coming. He's not coming. Anyway, we'll talk about Bellingham a little bit on That's Football. I'll see you over there in a minute or two.